Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. So excited to have you joining us on this Tuesday. My name is Sam Chlebowski, and I am the Vice President of Sales and Marketing over here at Brighter Vision. If you're a Brighter Vision customer, great to see you again. These webinars are for you, and we're so excited to have you with us. If you're new to Brighter Vision and maybe just hearing about us, our whole goal is to make marketing simple for therapists. First, we offer a website design service that allows us to pair you up with a professional development team and build you a beautiful website that looks like you spent thousands of dollars for just $59 a month. Your technical support, search engine optimization, and domain and hosting is included in this. As a special thank you for attending the webinar, any new customers who are interested in signing up with us will receive a coupon for $100 off a new website with Brighter Vision.
Nice.
Second, we are also offering all-in-one social media management through our new software, Social Genie. We are super excited about this. Basically, what Social Genie does is it has a library of thousands of social media posts that you can edit, customize, and schedule out across all platforms in just a matter of minutes. Basically, you just choose your specialty and click go, and all of your social media posts can be scheduled out for months at a time. If you add your logo and your website, Social Genie will automatically add that to each post, so your branding is front and center to prospective clients. Social Genie is just launched back in June, but we don't publicly market it yet. But if you are interested in trying it out, we would love to have you sign up for a 14-day free trial, and we will send a follow-up with that as well. In other exciting news, I'm really excited today to be joined by Kate and Katie of the Private Startup. Kate and Katie have done kind of a lot of work with us over the years, and we're really excited to have them with us. Kate and Katie are therapists with an entrepreneurial spirits who are crazy about business, branding, and marketing. They are co-founders of the Private Practice Startup and going to be sharing some great tips with us here today. Just as a general sort of housekeeping thing, any questions you have, feel free to throw that in the general chat window that you should see on the right side of your screen. And then also as a tip, Google Chrome as a browser does tend to work best for these webinars. So if you are having trouble connecting, I do recommend the Google Chrome browser. We typically find that has the clearest picture, the best audio, and doesn't have any of those connectivity issues. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to Kate and Katie and let them take it from here. So happy to have you both with us.
Thanks so much, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
And as you turn it over to us, we would love to know where you guys are from. So if you don't mind popping that in the chat so we know where you are joining us today. But yes, we are Kate and Katie from the Private Practice Startup. What's up, Michael from Chicago? Sam says hi to everyone. We're really excited that you guys decided to spend your time with us today, and we really want to make it worthwhile for you. I see Westlake, California, Cincinnati, Vancouver,
Milan, Italy.
That's awesome.
Wow.
India,
Portland, Vermont, Long Island. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. And of course, if you're listening to the replay, Lisa Badass from Michigan. All right. One of Laura's tribe members. Very cool. So we're going to be talking today about success strategies to convert callers into actual clients. But before we get started, we totally have to own one of our own blunders. Kate and I are right in the middle of getting ready to launch our marketing e-course, and we did this whole scheduling thing. And if you had signed up for this webinar and you thought you were getting the marketing miss initially, we wanted to rectify things with you guys and totally fix our mistakes. So we are not offering you one, but two awesome free webinars. So today you are going to get the success strategies to convert callers into actual clients, where we find that therapists really have a lot of trouble. And the good thing about this is Kate and I usually share a brain, but I hadn't shared with her yet that I actually wanted to do a webinar on this. So it afforded us the opportunity to give this to you. And at the end of today, we're going to invite you to make sure you come over to the How to Avoid 6 Marketing Myths That Are Killing Your Practice. Actually, I'll pop that in the chat now, just so you guys, if you haven't registered already, that's going to be next Tuesday.
It will be next Tuesday at
September
noon.
3rd at
East Coast.
East Coast time. So I'll just pop that in the chat so it's there in case you have to hop off, you have to see clients or do more fun things or whatnot. So let me go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so we're really excited to present this topic for you guys today because it is something that's been on both of our minds. You'll have to excuse me. I might have to clear my throat a couple of times. I'm recovering from a cold a few weeks ago and it's just lingering and doesn't seem to be going away. But we're excited to have you guys here. And I'm curious, what are you guys hoping to gain out of this webinar today? As we're just popping the link for the second webinar, the marketing myths that are killing your practice, into the chat there so you guys can opt in and register for that. You'll get the 2 free webinars, not just one. We really want to make sure that our information about the success strategies for really converting more callers into actual clients is nailing it on the head for you guys. So let us know what you're hoping to get out of this webinar.
And that also kind of helps us sometimes we create as we go. I mean, we have the content for you guys.
Yes,
but there's specific
totally.
things that you want to know and you're asking. We want to make sure we tackle those. And also, I know at the end, we're going to stay on for questions and answers. If you've ever been on any one of our webinars, Kate and I just love to stay till the end until every question is answered. So if you do have questions,
Totally.
we're going to get to them, but we're going to save them to the end just so we can give you and deliver high value content and really be with you guys. And then at the end, we'll come back and make sure that everything is completed.
And ultimately, you guys are on the right webinar if you want to master the intake call and really be able to convert more of those callers, especially the callers who are your ideal clients, into actual clients. And if you take private pay and if you're moving from insurance into a more private pay model, this is definitely an ideal webinar that you want to be on. Also, if you want to feel more confident and want to feel more efficient on the phone as you're navigating that intake call, this is definitely the right space for you. And if you want to fill your practice with clients that you absolutely love working with, you're in the right place. Yeah, so I see you guys have typed in a little bit, become smoother, awesome, better on the phone, book more clients.
Thanks for that, Carolyn. Kelly says,
marketing strategies, I'm clueless.
well, we're here to help you. So Kelly, you're going to definitely want to also join us on the other webinar. And of course, if you can't join us live and you have to get off, just catch the replay.
Yes, which you have to make sure you register to be able to access the replay.
Right. So Adriana asked how to handle the out-of-network insurance conversation.
Nice.
Excellent.
We will talk about that.
Kate and I actually have only had private pay clients, so we've never taken insurance in private practice.
Yes, I've got a group practice down here in South Florida, and Katie's got a solo practice. We've both been 6 figures for many, many years, and have mastered the intake call. We've done a ton of research on what works with marketing and sales, and we love being able to really coach clinicians to help them to brand themselves and grow their dream practices. And a huge part of that is being able to use the marketing and sales strategies that we know and that we use and we teach people, not only in the client call as you're navigating that, but also in your marketing in general. So we're going to tackle that today.
Yep. So Esther, confidently convince intake calls to pay cash only, moving away from insurance, converting insurance callers to private pay. So a lot of the similar things. Having conversation with referral sources. So we're not going to cover too much of that today, but you can definitely utilize some of the stuff that we talk about to do that. Sliding scale, negotiating lower fee, convert meetup clients to private pay. Okay.
Nice.
Oh, lots of private pay stuff. So you guys
Good
are
stuff.
in the right spot.
We'd like to kick it off by talking about some of the biggest mistakes. And Katie and I have been in private practice for over a decade each. I started in 2006. And when I first started, I can remember the calls coming in and it would go like this. It'd be like, ring, ring, ring. And I'd answer and it'd be like, hello,
ring, ring, ring.
hello, this is Dr. Kate. And they would go, oh, I'm just wondering if you take Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I say, no, I don't. And they go click. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not working. And so that's like, you definitely have to be able to take control of the call. And that's something like right off the bat that's really important. So one of the big mistakes is not taking control and just letting the clients take control of that call and having like a passive approach. That definitely does not work.
So one of the best ways that I like to take control of the call is when I answer the phone, I say, hi, this is Katie. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? I've already asked them a question before they can start to slip in there. Hey, I was wondering if, right? Because I'm asking them a question, all of a sudden it has to switch on their brain and they're like, oh, she just asked me a question. And they might say, Barbara. Then I will say, hey, Barbara, it's really nice to speak with you today. What services are you calling about? So that's a very subtle way that I begin to take control of the conversation. Sometimes they do slip even though I've asked them a question, this happened yesterday, they'll say, I was wondering if you take Aetna. right? And so I'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even catch your name. What was your name? And then they'll say Mary, and I'll say, hey, Mary, how you doing today? And I just begin to shift the conversation, right? And then Mary will say, good, I'm doing well. And I'd be like, great, Mary, I didn't hear what you were calling about specifically. So those are some of the ways that I like to take control of the conversation.
It's really helpful to be able to slow it down, because clients call and they're in distress, right? They're in crisis, they're highly anxious, they've got major problems that are in their lives, and they really want to get the help that they need for that. And so being able to slow that down a little bit and take control of the call really, really helps. And this is something that either if you're still taking your calls, you can do these strategies that we talk about, or you can train, whether you have a VA, a virtual assistant, or an actual assistant who's on site, you can train them in the intake call process and how to do that. I have an intake, a client care coordinator who takes care of all of the client calls. She refers to our group practice. We have a team of 20 clinicians, and it's so helpful to be able to, once you know the strategies and you know what works, whether you're delegating that very important task to somebody else or whether you're doing it yourself, it makes things so much smoother.
One of the things I would like to add with that is if you are outsourcing the call, so remember the call is most often one of the initial ways that you're starting to form a relationship with a client and be paid to be in business, right? Your website is really important, and thank God Brighter Vision is going to help you guys with that if you're not a client already. The really important thing is with a VA is train.
Yes.
I cannot say that enough. I mean, a lot of times, you know, when we are so overwhelmed with things and we're ready to outsource things, is we just want to hand it off and be like, it's off my plate.
Yeah.
That will cost you. So you can have friends and family members call, you can have other therapists call, you want to role play these things until that person feels comfortable on the phone and they start to convert clients. So our recommendation though for you is if you're not comfortable on the phone is you really need to master this skill first, or if you are outsourcing, is find someone who's already skilled at this area who can take and utilize the information that we talk about.
One of the other things that tends to happen sometimes when if we're not taking control of the conversation is someone will actually call and they'll say, you know, hey, this is John and I want to schedule a session today. I need to get in right away. And a lot of times therapists will get excited about that. Okay, great, new client for me to see today. Awesome. You know, if you're just building your practice, even more so, right? If you're just starting out, John wants to come in today. And so you dive right into John scheduling a session without slowing things down and really getting clear on what does John need? What kind of therapy is he looking for? What are his goals? And are you the right therapist who's going to be able to best serve John? And is John your ideal client? Because if John's coming in and he wants to work on something that's completely outside of your scope of practice, it's not going to be effective for John, and you want to make sure that John is getting the services that he needs. And it's not going to be effective for you because when you're not working with your ideal clients, you don't do as well. It's more draining. It's exhausting sometimes, and we really want to encourage you guys to get clear on who your ideal clients are and being able to use the intake call as an opportunity to assess, to slow things down as you take control of the conversation, to really assess, engage, what are their needs, what are their wants, what are they looking for, and am I the right person who's going to be able to serve them in that area?
Yeah, as you talk about that, I remember I had a call. It was for a couple, and thank God I kept assessing for the call because she had told me that he has antisocial personality disorder, and I think she said she had a personality disorder, and that is not my area of expertise, and I wouldn't want to touch that because I don't know how to navigate that. Now, affair recovery, that is my area of expertise, and I want those. So it's really important to be able to assess that. Like Kate said, is that it's a win-win. It's really good for clients care. Every touch of your business, from their initial contact on your website or a Psych Today profile or any therapy directory, is always building the relationship. And really that phone call is really so essential. So we just wanted to check in though. How is this helpful for you guys? Are these mistakes making sense? Are they resonating? Go ahead and pop yes in the chat or no or thumbs down if you don't really like it. We just want to make sure that we're right on. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Anna and Kelly.
And then even when you're positioning yourself as useful on the phone, and even if you find out that, hey, John is not my ideal client, let me refer him to someone else who can really help him, then that's where you kind of go in through the back door with your referral relationships and being able to have referral relationships with other clinicians who specialize in different areas. When you get those calls, you can refer them to them, and then you can set up that mutually beneficial referral relationship where they can refer clients to you. And that way it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the
And
next
what I would
mistake.
also like to add with that is actually where then you want to, I always shoot an email to the people that I refer to, right? So if it's an initial call, it's not a client, I'm just referring them. I'll be like, hey, Richard, I just want to let you know I gave your name as one of 3 to, John Doe who called. So I just want to make sure that, just let them know, and they appreciate that, and they know that I'm sharing their information. Hey, Kathy, I know that I just want to just reference this on the chat. I don't know if you were here right in the beginning about the blunder and scheduling, but we are going to have the marketing miss. It's in the chat. That's going to be next Tuesday. So awesome. Kudos to you that you actually are awesome on your call, which is really great.
Yes. And the link to register for the Marketing Myths webinar is in the chat. So definitely make sure you sign up for that, even if you can't attend live. Thanks, Sam, for posting that. You can catch the replay.
Very cool.
Let's move on to another mistake. I'm sure you guys have all experienced this. I know I have. And it's really getting sucked into a full-blown therapy session when someone calls, especially when you're novice in the beginning and you're trying to navigate things. You don't really know how to take charge of the call and move things along and ask the right questions and then get to the point of really scheduling. You can get sucked into a full-blown therapy session where you find yourself on the phone for 30 minutes with somebody, and then that's exhausting.
And time is money.
Time is money. And yes, your time is valuable. And then also your energy is valuable too, because you're giving so much to those that you see in the therapy room. And then if you have all these calls that you have to call back and you're getting sucked into a 30-minute full-blown conversation before you even know whether this person's going to be the right fit for you or not, and you for them, that is definitely a mistake that people make.
Another thing too is when people do slip in that, do you take insurance? And answering that right off the bat is not good. So if you're on this, webinar and you take insurance and that's just kind of how the process goes, that's fine. But really this webinar is for folks who really want more private pay clients and to navigate those things. So my recommendation is never to answer that question first. And earlier I had mentioned some ways to interrupt the pattern. It's called a pattern interrupt in regards to taking control of the conversation. If they do reference the insurance question, is you don't want to unacknowledge it, right? Like I know that Kathy had mentioned right here on the chat, right? We saw that this isn't the webinar for her. I want to acknowledge that. So just the same way as you would acknowledge the insurance question. So after I had said, who I had the pleasure of speaking with, Mary, it's really nice to talk with you today. Hey, do you take insurance? That's a really great question, Mary. I would love to answer that for you, but it's also really important for me to get to know you a little bit more and what your needs are to really see that I'm the right therapist for you. Time and time again, people really appreciate that. I've never had someone say, nope, I need to know if you take my insurance or not. Like never, that's just never happened. So you want to be able to know how to adjust those things. And truth be told, guys, is, I still have that when they ask the insurance question. I mean, I've been doing this for so many years and I'm good at it. I'm skilled at it. I can navigate it very well, but it's still like a feeling. So, hopefully that goes away for you. But sometimes it's still there.
And your answer for the insurance question is going to vary depending on what services they're looking for. So being able to slow down that conversation, get their name, ask them what services are you calling about? Are they calling about couples therapy? Are they calling about family therapy? Are they calling about an assessment or individual therapy? The insurance question and your answer to that is going to definitely vary depending on that. So Katie's right, being able to slow things down, join with them, and get a sense of what it is that they're looking for first is really, really helpful.
Yeah. One of the things too, especially with insurance. So the idea, and I want you to put yourself in your client's shoes. As consumers, most often, if we don't really fully understand the value of something, we do ask about cost first. I know I've done it. And I think with being a business owner, I actually make sure that I inquire a lot more now rather than just saying the cost. Because there'll be times, I don't know, maybe you're you need catering for a birthday party for your kid or something like that. And it's Saturday at your home and you're like, I got to get this party together. And you start searching around and what you see someone you like, you see another person you like, and then you might shoot them emails and be like, what is your cost? Well, cost is only an issue in the absence of value, right? So if we're not spending time building value for our clients, then cost will be an issue. But it's really just like that knee-jerk reaction that most of us just ask without really understanding the features, the benefits of something. So it's really important to be able to build a value for clients in regards to that.
Yes.
Another question too is maybe they don't even have insurance, or they do expect to pay. They'll just jump in, whether it's do you take insurance? They might ask, how much do you charge? Again, I would definitely recommend utilizing one of the same like pattern interruptions that I had mentioned in regards to, that's a really great question. I really like to get to know you a little bit first, right? That is building the value and understanding your needs and goals and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And how you answer that is going to depend on your practice. Are you a solo practitioner? Do you offer a sliding scale? Do you just have a flat fee? Do you offer different fees for different services? Do you have a group practice where you have different clinicians who offer a range of sliding scales? So there's going to be different responses depending on what your business model is. Mm-hmm. One of the mistakes that we see often and that we've made is when people ask how much you charge, not stating your fee confidently. When you do get to that point after you've joined with them and you understand what their needs are and what they're looking for, and that you're the right therapist who can really help them, when you get to the point of having that conversation, like Katie was saying, hopefully you've built enough value over time and you feel confident about your services that you can state your fee. And a lot of this is like mindset stuff. If you have beliefs and you're insecure about how much you're charging, and I remember when I first started out, when I was a registered intern in private practice, and I think I started off stating that my fee was $80 an hour, and then I would slide. I think I even saw a client for $40 an hour.
Me too.
When I first started out, and I would be so nervous because I never had any training in sales or marketing or business skills before I got into business. And I learned a lot of things, over time the hard way. Right. And I can remember when clients would call and I would state my fee, and then I would say, well, if you can't afford that, I do have a sliding scale. And then you're off to start negotiating your fee down before they've even asked. So being able to state your fee and shut up is one of the most important things that you can do, stating your fee confidently. And now my fee is $250 a session. I state it confidently. That's it. There's no negotiating for that.
And if you do have trouble like shutting up, you can say 250.
Yes.
Like you put something in your mouth or whatever, or just close your mouth, right? And just really be clear about that. It's funny. So as you were talking, I know that I did similar things. And so I just want you guys to experience this on the other end. So let's just play a game for a minute. Are you guys down? Just type yes in the chat if you're down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys a question. I'm going to invite you to a party, right? And then I want you to tell me if you want to come based off how I invite you. And I've totally done this before with my friend. And then I started realizing wow, Katie, you're really unclear. And this is what happens when we talk about our fees. So let's see. Okay, Rinda, I see a Rinda there. So Rinda, hey, listen, I'm having a party this Saturday and I'd really love you to come. But, I know that you've been having trouble with the babysitter and you might not be able to come. And, it's okay. Well, if you don't want to come, that's okay. Do you guys want to come to my party or not?
Did you invite her or uninvite her?
I don't know. I'm not really sure, right? No, Drew's like,
nope.
No. Yeah, so when we don't state our fee clearly, exactly, SJ asked, do you want us to come or not, right? It's really unclear. So when we do that, we're actually creating let's say disconfidence. Now I'm making up words today. Confusion on the other end with our client. Well, do they really charge this? Do they not? Do I want to see this person? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't usually happen really on that conscious level. It's more subconscious if this person's wavering. And I would do the same thing, just like I would kind of invite you to a party and then kind of uninvite you. If 125 is too much, it's okay. I offer a sliding scale. What would work for you? I'm clearly not in control at this point.
And I know this is not like a money mindset webinar, and we could totally veer off in that conversation.
I love that topic too.
Yes, but if you guys, most people have money mindset issues based on our family of origin, how we brought up, our belief systems around money, and that all seeps into how we navigate these types of conversations on the intake call. So if you haven't done that money mindset journey and the work in that area, definitely do so.
Love seeing your guys' little comments in the chat. I'm glad this is making sense and good example. And
I know we have some great podcasts that we've done on money mindset that would be really helpful to pop in the chat. So if you guys are curious about those, we do have a quick guide for all of our podcast episodes from the Private Practice Startup. Katie's going to pop the link for that in the chat. And then you guys just look under the money tab. It's all organized by category, not tab, but you'll see the categories all listed out. And then you guys can consume the money mindset content, and there's a lot of other categories on there too.
Good, Ron. I'm glad that
Yes.
was helpful. And we also actually have resources on books. I love money stuff, so I'm always reading books and understanding and things like that. So that's a really good thing to look at for yourself.
Yes.
So we talked about fees. Another thing too, so you get to the end of the conversation, right? And this is where you make a request, right? And the request is, would you like to schedule, right? And that's a yes or no question, right? And so then you want to lead them to the next step. Not, so what are you thinking? What am I thinking about what? Right. So would you like to schedule? You want to make a very directive question. They might already say like, I'd like to get started. How do we do that? But they haven't. You want to make sure, would you like to schedule? And you want to give them 2, maximum 3 options. You don't want to say, oh, I'm open on Tuesday from 9 to 8. Not a good idea. One is you really should kind of take control of your own time. You should only offer them 2 to 3 times, or 1 if you only have it. Because also that gives the idea that like, oh, this person is really good. And if they say yes, great, then follow your follow-up system on how to get them scheduled, what's next, and things like that. Now, if they say no, would you guys like to know how to handle if they say no? Go ahead and pop yes in the chat if you would like to know how to handle if they say no.
We got a smiley face. I'm
All
assuming that's a
right.
yes. Please.
So one of the things, let me take a step back. So, and again, I'm speaking about us as consumers as well. There's 3 major areas that people, I'm backwards here, so I have to go to this way. 3 major things when it comes to making a purchase decision. Things about trust, money, and time come up. So trust is kind of like, well, can I trust this person to get me to where I need to be going? Will they help me achieve the results that I intend and desire? Or do I trust myself, right? So as a marriage therapist, sometimes there's a partner kind of on the fence, and the trust question that they might be thinking is like, do I want to invest? Do I trust that I'm going to follow through? So there's that in the background. So I'm just giving you a few. There's the money conversation, right? Like, oh, I really like this therapist, but ooh, I didn't really know it's going to be that much. Or do I have the funds or things like that? Or there's the time investment. A lot of times with therapy stuff, people are really grasping with the money things because they've already, depending on how they've come to you, right? So if they've come to you from online or referral, most often people have researched you a little bit to decide if you might be a good fit for them or not. So they're already weeding themselves out if they're an ideal client for you. So I think it's very important to test the money question. I will say something like, like if it's kind of silent and they're like, oh, well, I'm not really sure. I need to speak with my husband. I'll say something like, is that what you were intending to spend? Or is that what, when you've done some of your research and called some other therapists, is that kind of in the ballpark what you anticipated? And so that's me testing the money objection in regards to, oh no, I thought therapy was way cheaper. I can't really afford that. Because what I find happens is if you don't test that money question, when things are like left up in the air, then you kind of do a follow-up call or you send them an email and they've ghosted you, right? And at least I know up front, because sometimes it is a money issue and maybe it is too expensive to see you, and that's okay. And that's where we go back to earlier, and then we want to refer out. It's always good to have a few colleagues in your back pocket of that you really know, like, and trust, that maybe have different fees or obviously different specialties. And then if they say, well, no, I've actually, looked around and that's what, what I've been seeing, then you can say, and to further understand a little bit more about what's going on in regards to, okay, so when you do speak to your husband or wife or partner or whatever, what might be his or her concerns in regards to, what they're worried about with therapy. Another thing, I had another thought in my mind. I wanted to talk about the money thing.
And it'll come back to you. And from a group practice owner's perspective, anytime our client care coordinator gets the sense that there's a money issue going on, what she'll do is she'll ask, what's your budget for counseling?
Yep, that's another one.
So we'll ask directly, what is your budget for counseling? So that they'll give us a range of, oh, well, it's, $80 to $100, or it's $50 or below, and then we're referring out. It's really looking at 150 to 175, or it's a non-issue. I want to work with the best. And a lot of times that's what people say. They want to work with the best. And sometimes for them, they look at the value and the cost and they think the best is the most expensive. So they want to work with the best. So being able to call that question out if you get any hesitation or someone is not moving forward with the scheduling process, it's nice to be able to really assess what what's the hesitation? What's the objection that's holding them back?
It did come to me. So one
I
of
knew
the
it would.
things, one of the things that if this is a person that's just kind of reaching out for services, one of the things that I will say in regards to, well, if you had searched around, what you'll find is the range is usually between, so this is for our area, right, $150 to $250. And I'll say I'm right in the middle. So that kind of gives them an idea. And then I'll let them know, when thinking about, your relationship and stuff like that, you don't want to risk it to not working with a specialist, right? And really identifying that the specialist is really important to work with, right? If you had cancer, you're not going to your general practitioner, right? And if this is, of course, we're talking about the end of the conversation. This is after you've built value with them, you understood their problems, their goals for therapy, as well as positioned yourself in regards to helping them achieve the results that they're desiring. So that's all. This is kind of towards at the end of the conversation.
Yeah, and you're kind of hitting on one of the mistakes that we had wanted to talk about not getting clients to take that next step and not securing them on your schedule. So when you're asking wishy-washy or, hey, so what do you think? It's not clear. You're not directing them through your process. So that is definitely a mistake that therapists make about, okay, so what do I do now? They want to book, and just putting that on them. So what time is convenient for you to come in? You want to make sure that you take control of your ideal schedule and that you really see clients during the times that are optimal for you, that your ideal schedule, so that you can really live that lifestyle, not have the business consume you. Especially when first starting out in practice, a lot of therapists make the mistake of bending over backwards to see their clients. They'll stay till 9 o'clock at night. They'll work on the weekends. They'll, see a few clients here, a few clients there, and they're all over the place. And then their business is running their life. If clients want to see you, and if you're doing a good job of navigating the call with confidence, providing value, they're going to make it happen. And you'll find that their schedule is a lot more flexible than they might lead you on to believe.
And if it's not, then, then again, there you go. That's where you reach out to your colleagues, and that's okay as well. Another thought popped in my mind. Oh, so when someone does say, oh, I need to check with my spouse, or I need to whatever they're saying, I'm just coming from the couple's perspective in the moment. What I say is, Jane, I'd really like to send you an email of all the points that we've talked about today. That will also include my office hours and cost. Would that be okay? Again, I always have everyone say yes. Now, I have a script. So this is not something that I create every time that I talk to a client. It's the same script. I pop in their name. I also send them valuable links to resources, blogs, and information on how I can support them in the meantime in regards to their relationship. When I do send this, now I'm not only having their phone number, but I also have their email. So it's another mode of contact. And when people begin to kind of go ghost or whatever, I find for some reason people just respond to email better, right? So for example, when I send them this, they're like, oh, thank you so much. And also in that, I have a link about fees explained, and I explain why I charge the cost that I do. And I talk about insurance in there. And so they have a better understanding. So what I will also do, and this is part of the commitment, right? So I'll say, okay, you need to speak to your husband, Dave, tonight. Gotcha. Or I'll say, when do you think you're going to be speaking to your husband? And the person will say, tonight. And I say, great. I said, can we follow up by tomorrow or Wednesday? And they'll say yes or no. And then I know when to follow up with them. So I make it my responsibility to assure that I'm following up with them. And in case they don't call. And then sometimes what I find is sometimes you need to send an email. And I also let people off the hook in the email in the sense of, hey, I know when we spoke that you were really excited to get started, that this was really important to you. Please give me a call to schedule. Right. And then I'll also say, if things have changed or you've made different plans, you can let me know that as well. It's okay. And that way the conversation and the communication is complete and it's closed. For me, I just like that better. There's people that just don't respond, and that's okay. But these are simple ways to continue to follow up, get clear, get people scheduled, or at least complete the conversation.
Yeah, let me ask you guys a question. How comfortable are you when you think about selling yourself? When you think about sales and marketing, how is that an area that you're really comfortable with, confident in, or is it something that makes you feel like icky and you're uncomfortable, not quite sure? Yeah, I hear that. Very uncomfortable. No, not comfortable, icky. Okay, and that's something that we hear a lot of the times.
Sleazy.
Sometimes sleazy, salesy, or like imposing, salesy. It just feels like ick. And if you're going about it in a more modernized way, then it doesn't feel sleazy or salesy or imposing or icky or anything like that. It's more, Katie and I like to really reframe it as building a relationship. And so it's just about connecting with people. So if you look at marketing and sales from that lens of connecting with people and understanding what their needs, wants, and goals are, and then if you're the person who is really the expert of being able to help them navigate that, it's being able to position yourself as the guide to help them get what they really, really want. And so one of the cool things is that as therapists, you guys have excellent marketing and sales skills that are innate within you with what you do every single day with your clients.
Did you guys know that?
So we wanted to talk a little bit about that with you guys as we just kind of like reframe the conversation a little bit, because if you are feeling that like, with marketing and sales, you're going to get on that phone call and that's going to come through on the other end. And it might be perceived as, oh, this person's not confident in their clinical skills. They don't know if they can really help me. And it might just be that you're just not sure how to navigate the call. So it's important to really, really work through those mindset issues. And we definitely invite you to join us on our next marketing webinar, the Marketing Myths, where we really dive way, way deeper into the marketing stuff.
So one of the cool things, and I'm glad you brought it up that way, because I was watching the chat, right? So when I'm not talking, I can watch the chat and vice versa, right? And so some of you are like, ugh, to the sales and marketing stuff. And then I see Kayla and Katie and Rhonda say like, hey, I'm kind of comfortable with that, but I'm not confident yet as a therapist. So what Kate and I are about to share with you, hopefully we're just going to squash all of that for the both camps. So would that be okay? Would that be okay for you guys if we did that? Talk about those innate marketing skills that you guys have. Awesome. Rhonda says yes. Okay. So as therapists, you know what? Maybe we should ask you guys. You guys have some really good basic skills that are awesome for marketing. What type of therapy skills do you think make you an amazing marketer? Go ahead and pop those in.
If you think about the micro skills, that if you break down the therapy skills into specific, okay, good listener. Yep.
Empathy. Tons of reframing, validating. Oh my God, you guys are amazing. Look, you guys are amazing marketers and you didn't know it, but here you are, engaging, active listening, relationship building. I get chills a lot, so you guys just gave me chills. Chills factor, I call that hashtag chills factor. That's like good stuff. Alignment, reflecting, eye contact, exactly. And that's all that really makes you a good marketer. Another thing that I hadn't seen that you guys said is the use of client language. So
authenticity cowbell.
I think I have mine over here. Is it over there? Adriana. This is for you, Adriana.
Gotta do it.
Thanks for that. That was fun. We should always have it prepared. We never know
I know.
So yeah, so those are all things that make you guys awesome.
And that's essentially what you're doing. If you look at a high level of the process for the intake call, that first call, what you're doing off the bat is you're joining with your potential client, right? And then you're getting an understanding, you're listening to the client's language, right? The exact language that they're speaking. I never know which way I'm going.
I know,
out of the frame.
Just lean in towards me and then
lean in, yes. And so
lean back.
First thing, you're joining with them, then you're getting an understanding of their pain, their presenting problems, their needs, their wants, their goals, and you're listening for that client language that you want to be able to use as you're summarizing things back to them later on. So in addition to that, as you're listening to what they need, want, and desire, you're validating, you're empathizing, and so that's part of that joining and building rapport process. So the therapy process is already starting from that. The therapeutic relationship building is already starting for that initial call, which is really, really cool. And then basically you're reframing to them, you're summarizing what it is that you heard, basically from what they're struggling with, what they're wanting to work on. And then you're positioning yourself as the person who's going to be able to support them in reaching their goals. And then you take them through the next step of asking, are you ready to go ahead and move forward with scheduling? If they are, it's this is the overarch of the call. That's really how to navigate.
And really, like Kate just handled those two camps, right? So for those of you who aren't confident yet in your therapeutic skills, we do know from school, do you guys remember the common factors research? So the common factors research states that clients really achieve their goals based off two main things. And it's not the models you use or your certificates or degrees. It's none of that, right? The two main things are the rapport building and how the client views the relationship with you. And that is just the basic stuff. I mean, if you're a therapist, you probably have that already. Like that's just innate. Like
it's the second most influential factor in client successful outcomes.
And then the second part is, well, you said second. The second part is,
well, that's the second most influential factor. Yeah.
And then the other one is the client's own initiative, right? So for them being able to do their goal, for them taking initiative for the therapeutic process and making changes.
That's the first factor. Yes. That's the top common factor. The clients are responsible for their own outcome, their resources, their level of motivation, their follow through with goals and all of that. And second is the relationship. And you're starting the relationship off the bat from this initial intake. And that really, it sets the pace for the relationship. It sets the tone and really can bring a lot of ease and comfort, because let's face it, there still is a stigma about going and seeing a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And, thank goodness therapy is becoming more mainstream and we're all doing our part in helping to debunk that stigma, but it is still there. And a lot of people have a lot of shame and it takes a lot for them to reach out.
Yeah.
So being able to really focus on that connecting piece as you're navigating the call is something that's super, super helpful.
And if you're not comfortable on the call, I definitely would practice, practice with another colleague. I attended, I don't know if you guys know Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. I attended a training, another marketing and sales training. And actually one of his Rich Dad advisors, what he said is what they would do is they would lock themselves in a room and they would throw objections at each other, right? Like for hours on end to really learn how to handle that and build that muscle. So really being able to walk through this and talk through it and have your own system and know what to ask and know what to say and know how to deal with those, like, do you take insurance, what's your fee, all that stuff is really important. So the more you exercise the muscle, the better. And of course, like we said, like you guys already have a lot of the skills.
Yeah. I know one of the mistakes that we didn't talk about that just popped into my mind is, and this is something that we see therapists doing as they explain like what they do. And that happens both on the phone as they're talking to referral partners or going to a networking event, or even on their website, talking with the therapist, psycho babble, mumbo jumbo. Definitely don't do that. Don't use clinical language, use layman's terms, and really practice and get clear on how to explain what it is that you do to people in a way that's like, I want to say dumbed down. It's just in layman's terms so that people can really understand what it is that you do, what your process is, what your system is, so that they know what to expect. And when you know how to communicate that confidently in a way that people understand it, that really helps as you're navigating the intake call.
As you say that, I'm thinking, have you guys ever made a boxed cake? Anyone here on the chat ever made a box?
I don't even know what that is. What is a box?
Like a cake out of a box, like Betty Crocker.
Okay, got it.
I'm not being clear.
No.
Type in the chat if you've ever made a cake out of a box. Story of my life. Not being clear, made box cake. So for those of you who made a box cake, and I'm sure many other people can relate, even though, or cake from a box.
Never heard that. I
Any
thought it
other
was
way,
like a
Katie, that's
thing.
funny. So if you actually flip the box over, right, and you look at the back, there's like 3 easy steps, and they're done with pictures. Right? And so what are the steps? It's like open the box, pour it in, put the egg, mix, and put it in the oven, right? And when Kate talks about the layman's terms, is you want to be able to explain the results that you give people as well as the next steps in those layman terms.
Yes.
Very much so everyone understands it. They don't need to know about your CBT approach or how to use this model. Now, if they're calling and asking, like recently I've had a potential client say, I'm looking for someone who does EFT. I don't want Gottman. And okay, we're having that conversation and I refer it out because that's not my specialty. Gottman is. So again, it makes it super duper easy.
Yeah. And then you're moving forward with the scheduling process. We talked about that. And then as a part of the next step is to be really clear on what's your follow-up system after that. What can they expect? So you get them on the schedule, you get them on the calendar, they're booked, and then you want to take control of that, the end of the conversation, and say, okay, here's what the next step is. Will you be sending them a link to create their profile in an EHR, fill out the forms? Will you be sending them the PDF version of the forms for them to complete at home or in the comfort of their own environment and bring with you? Will they be faxing it back to you or scanning it back to you beforehand? Will you be taking a credit card down payment to reserve
down payment,
a credit card payment?
Damn, this therapy is really expensive. That'll be $5,000 down payment.
Yep.
A deposit.
Thank you. A deposit. For some, it may feel like a down payment, right? It's like a retainer, right?
Yeah, for an attorney.
Yeah. So will you be taking their credit card as you're on the call with them, or sending them a link to your Square Up invoice, or just what is your process for all
Do
of
you
that?
give reminders? Do you not give reminders?
Yes.
Those things are really
Also directions. If you have a brick and mortar office and you're not doing online counseling, making it really important, making it really clear that you're going to send them directions. So thinking about all of those steps of your process and having that worked out, it's so helpful to be able to have everything scripted and organized, so that when you do get to the point of outsourcing your calls, which I am just assuming that a lot of people are wanting to get to that point eventually. I know I did. I became like totally allergic to taking phone calls. Like my phone rings now and I'm like, I don't want to answer it. So being able to really master the intake call first and having your script set up for this is super helpful.
And these are we're just going to give you kind of other little, what we call hashtag ninja tips. So if you're new to us,
hashtag ninja tips.
We usually throw up the gang sign. I mean, not the gang sign, the hashtag sign, if you guys want a ninja tip. So if you guys would like some ninja tips more about the call, go ahead and put that in the chat.
Pop them in the chat. Let's see those ninja tips.
All right,
Hashtag.
Michael. Kelly says, please. Do we lose the rest of you guys? Are you guys on lunch or taking an early lunch? Where did you guys go? Did you fall asleep? All right, just checking. Okay. Oh, you guys were actually writing
there
down
they
ninja. That's
are.
what took a while.
Cool.
Let's see. So we made a list. So one of the things I know I saw this earlier up in the chat is that you want to assure that you are in a space to talk to your client. That's really important. And if you can't talk then, what's really important, so I know when I get a phone number on my phone that's not attached to a name, it's probably a potential client. As much as I can, I want to make sure I answer the phone, even if I can't do that right away. So answering the phone is really critical, and it could be like, hey, Mary, I'm so sorry. I'm in a meeting, but do you mind if I give you a call back at 1? I'd like to spend, and note this, I'd like to spend 10 to 15 minutes understanding your needs and goals and share with you a little bit about how I work. Would that be okay? I say the 10 to 15 minutes, and that kind of goes back to the earlier part of our talk. This begins to avoid getting into a therapy session, right? So we're actually setting a time limit, and people appreciate that. That way, because sometimes clients, it's kind of like, I don't know, back in middle school when you like somebody and you picked up the phone and you're like, no. You picked it up again. You're like, oh, I can't do it. Or you pick up the phone and you start dialing. You hang it up really quick, right? So sometimes clients are in this place of like, I'm going to call. If they answer, okay, fine, I'll go through with it. Oh, good, voicemail, never mind, right? And so sometimes they're not even leaving a message. So we miss the opportunity to at least get the call and let them know we'll call them back later if we're not in a good space to talk. Or if we can get the phone and have the conversation, then that's really important.
And if you are calling them back, making sure that it's a good time for them as well when you call and say and asking them, because sometimes they're at work or they're in the airport or they're somewhere where they can't really talk and it's not ideal.
Right. And one of the things I do like to say is, hey, Mary, this is Katie, the counselor. I say that because it has this ringing fun.
It's catchy.
It's catchy because there's many times I've even called current clients. I'm like, hey, it's Katie, and they're like, I was
Katie,
like,
who?
Your therapist? oh my gosh, because it's not like I'm calling them all the time, right?
Yeah, it sounds like you're calling a friend.
I'll say Katie, the counselor. What I will say is, hey, it's Katie, the counselor, giving you a call back. If I'm leaving a voicemail at 1 o'clock, as I said I would, right? And I say that because I made a promise to them that I'd call them at 1, and here I'm making good on my promise. So I know that these are really little things, but they are important things because that demonstrates trust. I said I was going to do something, and I did it. And you know what? Clients really need to trust us in our relationship. So there's just these little things that we've learned along the way.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And we want to check in with you guys because I know we're about the 12:48 mark here on the East Coast. Jennifer, glad these have been helpful. That's great. And we want to see if there's any lingering questions from you guys, if you guys would like for us to answer any additional questions that we haven't already talked about. So definitely pop those in the chat if you guys have additional questions.
And as you are popping that in the chat, we would like to know if you guys, Kate and I are all about, don't waste your time, money, and energy trying to figure out things the hard way. And we're hoping that this has been really helpful for you guys and has helped you on your calls. But we actually have an opportunity for you. And we have created a client converting call script. It's step-by-step script of what to say and a video on why we say exactly what we say. So if you want something that's already done for you that you don't have to take all the information that we've talked about today and piece together, we would like to offer you guys that. Would that be okay? Go ahead, pop yes in the chat if that would be okay. See, yes.
Okay.
And because you've also spent some time here with us today, we're going to give you guys an awesome discount. Now, I'm really passionate about the client converting call script because it's helped me and Kate stay in business. I mean, like she said earlier, we both have 6-figure private practices. If I did not learn how to handle the calls, I would not be here talking to you guys today. So the client converting call script not only takes you step by step with the video, but it actually helps you make money, right? So if you can handle the initial calls utilizing this script, it's going to help you stay in business and help you make money.
And the cool thing about the script is for me, I haven't answered my own calls in years. I have my client care coordinator who does that, and she's trained on the script, and the script is the way of having her navigate the call, take charge, and know exactly what she needs to do step by step, exactly what to say when for specific questions that are asked. And it's so helpful to have something like that to navigate. And I know some of you probably have something like that you've already created for yourself. But we love to save you time and energy and money, and being able to help some of those essential resources that have been so tremendously useful for us.
So I'm going to
share with you.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pop this in the chat. So normally the script is $197, but we are not going to give it to you guys for that. We're going to give it to you for $59. Okay. But the really important thing is you put the coupon code in, and the coupon code is more clients. So make sure when you go to purchase this that you also put more clients.
Yes.
If you do it by accident and you purchase it for $197, we will definitely refund you. Just let us know that you heard it from this Brighter Vision webinar. And so that will be available till this Friday. So more clients, there's the link. So I'm going to scroll back up. I know Sam hopped on. We want to make sure that we did answer
we got some questions that came in.
Your questions.
Scroll back up.
Yep.
Always. Because we had some questions come through. Keep going. Let's see.
Right, here we go.
Katie says, how do you handle clients who don't leave a voicemail? I get calls while I'm in session or at home, and I wonder if I should call back or not. Good question.
Good question. So one of the things I had shared, and I know Kate and I were talking about this yesterday, we both utilize Google AdWords, or Google Ads as they call it now. And so for me, I like to run ads. Now I still answer my calls. Kate has a group practice, so it's a little bit different. I like to run Google Ads when I'm actually available to answer the phone. So that's one thing. And I don't know what your model is Katie, but that is a little helpful ninja tip in regards to that. For me, I get a lot of other calls. Like I answer the phone constantly, and it's kind of like that dead air. So I don't know if it's a potential client or not. I personally, for me, I don't call people like a number back if I don't know who it is or they haven't left a voicemail.
I have an assistant who answers the phone 24/7, pretty much, even on the weekends. Obviously not in the middle of the night, but if someone doesn't leave a message, then we just kind of respect that and don't hound them and call them back. However, if you can answer the phone or have someone to be able to answer the phone for you to capture those calls as they come in, it's so helpful, because it's, a lot of times people will change their mind if they have to wait to hear from you, or they've already booked with another therapist. They found someone who could help them sooner. So really being able to capture those calls when they come in is ideal.
And Adriana asked, what about a client who texts you? Personally, I have really strong boundaries around text and email, and I don't entertain that stuff. What I will do is if they text me, I will call them. And if they don't answer, I will, this is my shtick on the voicemail. Whatever. Hey, Sam, we're going to use Sam. Hey, Sam, this is Katie. I saw that you had just texted me and you're looking for a therapist. Great. I want to go ahead and schedule a call with you, a time that we can chat. It's really important for me to know your needs, your goals, and I would love to share with you how I work with couples, because that's what I say, who are dealing with some of the issues that you guys are dealing with. Here's my number, call me back. That is what I say. And why I say that is because it sets up how I'm going to do my call. So I'm already, it's called pre-framing about how the call is going to go. And again, now that they're calling me back, oh, hey, Sam, it's really great to hear from you. I know that when you had texted me, you said you're looking for couples counseling. Again, I'm taking control of the call. Can you share with me a little bit about what you guys are struggling with? And then there we are. How is that helpful, Adriana?
Rosalind says, how do you convert an insurance client into self-pay? What we do at our practice, what I do and have my assistant trained on is, of course, joining with the client first, understanding what services they want. You get their name, their services that they want. You get an understanding of what their needs and wants and goals are. So you're joining with them. And then I like to take time to educate them so that they're an informed consumer, because a lot of clients don't understand how insurance works and what the ramifications of using insurance are. And so what I'll do is I'll say, I'll just say it from my point of view of when I used to take calls. I'll say, have you ever used insurance for therapy before? And so that way I get an understanding. If they have, okay, great, then they know how that works. And if they haven't, I'll say, okay, well, were you aware that using your insurance requires your therapist to diagnose you with a mental health disorder? And they'll say, oh, no, actually, I wasn't aware of that. Or yes, I was, and it's no big deal. If it's no big deal for them, then you can move on to talking about out-of-network benefits if you offer a super bill and that whole process and system around that. But what I find is that a lot of times the clients that are calling will be surprised, and they won't realize that will impact their confidentiality and privacy. And for me, over the years,
are capped.
Yep, or insurance won't cover all of the sessions and that sort of a thing. And so I like to say, I just like to make sure that potential clients are an informed consumer about how using insurance works, because if you are provided with a mental health diagnosis, that is something that goes on your record. And if you're going through a divorce or a custody battle, or if you're a pilot, or if you're working in a high
judge,
or an FBI, or if you're working in a high profile job and you need to make sure that confidentiality is of utmost, then insurance is not the route for you. Or if you find out that they're wanting to use they're wanting to do couples therapy. Most insurances don't cover couples counseling because there's not a diagnosable code for communication issues or a lot of the common issues that go on. If there is an appropriate diagnosis for one of the individuals, there can be some loopholes there, but it really is a gray area. So it's your job to make sure that consumers are informed about the ramifications of using insurance. And if that's not a concern for them, then you can talk with them about, hey, I don't take insurance. I am a private pay practice, but I do offer out-of-network services for insurance. How that would work is you pay at the time of session in full, and once a month, I give you what's called a super bill that will have all the diagnostic codes and criteria on it for your insurance to reimburse you directly at whatever rate they have agreed upon. Now, I would encourage you to call your insurance to find out what your deductible is, how much of that you've met, how much they reimburse after they've met the deductible. So there's a lot to that conversation, and that's one of the things that we include in the client converting call script.
And one of the things I just want to caution anyone who does take insurance is you can't then shift them to private pay. If you do take their insurance, you have to take their insurance. So I just wanted to be clear of that. But if you're in a place where you're wanting to, have a more private pay or decreasing the amount of insurance and stuff like that, that's a type of conversation that you
So
can
was
have.
that helpful?
Great
I hope that was a helpful response. I know we could probably talk for another 20 minutes on that topic.
So Kayla asked, how do you have people call? Do you use your own cell number, or do you use things like Google Voice? So interestingly enough, Google Voice has not been HIPAA compliant, but most recently, Google Voice now does have a business component. So if you are a covered entity and need to follow all the HIPAA guidelines, you want to make sure that if you are using Google Voice, is use the paid version.
It's through G Suite. Google Voice through G Suite. You would want to have a business associates agreement, a BAA signed with that as well. And so you could use something like that. For me, I love phone.com. I've been using them for over a decade, and they work amazing. It's a HIPAA, it meets all the HIPAA regulations, and it's been great for my group practice. They have solo practitioner options as well. And then there's RingX. There's a couple of different options.
Good. And Michael asked, how do you talk about the fee schedule when it's for other therapists? So that's a question for you with your group practice.
Yeah, well, we would get a sense of what their budget is for therapy. And then we have 20 clinicians, and everybody specializes in different areas and offers a different price range for services. Some of them offer packages for reduced saving, for reduced sessions. And it really depends on what the services they're looking for, and then also their personality, their needs and wants and goals. And my client care coordinator does a really good job, because I've trained her so well at being able to really assess and get a good understanding of what people are needing, and to match them with a clinician who's going to be the greatest fit for them, that also fits in their budget.
I was just noticing, and we were looking at the questions. Did everyone, and I know that Sam's been working on it, did everyone regain the audio? I was just scrolling down after I looked at your guys' questions.
It could be a problem for specific browsers, maybe. Something we see occasionally. Google Chrome is typically going to be the best for anyone.
That's interesting. Sam, it's weird. We hear you That's interesting because it sounds like you are coming through our computer. I wonder what was happening there.
We're just coming up to the end of the webinar, and we know that we've recorded this, so we're going to send out. Sam will send out through Brighter Vision the recording for you guys for the replay. So you guys, if you lost audio and you lost visual, we have the recording which will have good audio and visual, so you guys can rewatch from whatever point you left off. And so yeah, you'll be good to go with that. And again, if you guys were hoping to dive deeper or excited to dive deeper into the marketing myths information, definitely join us on Tuesday, September 3rd at noon Eastern time for the marketing myths that are killing your practice and how to avoid them. We will pop that link in the chat again. And if you can't attend during that time, register anyways. You guys can catch the replay. And then in addition to that replay that we send, we also send out a whole marketing challenge email sequence where you guys we're able to take you on this journey of giving you bite-sized pieces of challenges that you guys can do to really boost your marketing so that it's really working for you. So we would love to see you on that webinar. And Sam, thanks for having us on today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and thanks so much for coming out.
I'll pop the link back there in the chat for you. I hope
I can't hear you, Sam.
Oh, can you hear me now at all?
That's weird. It feels like you're. Oh, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, so I was just gonna say thank you so much for joining us today. I found like a ton of helpful tips, even for like what we do here at Brighter Vision.
Awesome.
The stuff about following up and sending follow-up emails to check in. Ultimately people they're going to tell you if they're not interested, and people get busy and things like that. So it's important to check in with them. And yeah, thanks so much for joining me. And then everyone else, we'll be sending a follow-up email with links to the resources that we'd mentioned in this webinar and all the helpful stuff that Kate and Katie are offering, as well as a discount to Brighter Vision services. So thank you so much for joining us, and hope to see you soon. Next week, I'll be watching Kate and Katie's webinar as well. So really looking forward to sending that out and having you guys join on that as well. So thank you all.
Sweet. All right.
You guys are so
Thanks
great
again.
at Brighter Vision, and if you guys do need a website and haven't had one yet, definitely check theirs out. They are our top referral source for therapists. So thank you guys, and we hope you guys have an awesome and inspired day. Thanks for taking some time to be with us today.
Take care, everyone.
Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Bye.